Okay, so are you all aware of today's topic?
No.
No? Already? Nobody knows the topic today?
What is today's topic?
Prasadam.
I don't know. It's
Spiritual food.
the power of Prasadam. That's the topic. It was given to me by Prabhuji and he asked me to speak on that. And I guess most of you are already coming here regularly or sometimes. Is it?
Yes.
Anybody new here? Nobody's new, absolutely. Okay, fine. So today's topic is the power of Prasadam, and what I want to discuss today is with you all is about the potency of Prasadam, the power of Prasadam. So we all know Prasadam means food offered to God. That's the meaning of Prasadam. Prasadam means mercy, is it? In English it means, literal translation is mercy. So what is Prasadam? Why Prasadam is so powerful? Now we have many incidences in our experience and in history with other saints that people who took Prasadam, their lives changed. Now it's not a hallucination, it's not a substance producing hallucinations. You know hallucinations or doping? It's not that you take some hallucinations and drugs and your life changes. It's not that. Because when Prabhupada came to America and he started his movement in 1976 and 66. Yeah, sorry, 66 and then 67 it took off. Then Prabhupada he opened his Kirtan classes in a storefront. We all know Matchless Gift. And in that storefront, his strategy was to give some class in the evening, but main strategy was Prasadam. That was his weapon. He told, that's my weapon. And he used to give nice preparations, boys, young boys and girls, hippies, they used to come and they used to like Prasadam. And then that's how they were hooked up with the Prabhupada. Prabhupada also used to keep gulab jamuns, we all know, in the jar. And the Prabhupada used to call them ISKCON bullets. ISKCON bullets, yeah. ISKCON, you told bombs?
I said bombs.
So yeah, ISKCON bullets. So Prasadam has its own value. Prabhupada always said ISKCON is a kitchen religion. Many times he said this. He said you make nice feast for Krishna and give it to people and their hearts will change. Prabhupada also said in letters that Kirtans and Prasadam is for masses. Philosophy is for classes. So to general people, we distribute them Prasadam. And then not only in ISKCON, not only with Prabhupada. I think Prabhupada was once in Mayapur and he was taking some gulab jamuns and then he was sitting and there was a dog. Then he threw one gulab jamun and the dog ate. And Prabhupada said that he'll go back to Godhead. He said that. So we understand from historical perspective, from these incidences, Prasadam has power. Like for example, Ramanujacharya. He was a great acharya in South India, around 1000 years back. And he had one disciple, one female disciple, Mataji. She was old. She was like poor, very poor. And she was so poor that Ramanujacharya once told her that we are going to come to your house to honor Prasadam. So please cook for us. So she was cooking, but she didn't have money to cook, to buy foodstuffs. So she went to a local vendor. You say vendor here? Local vendor? Grocer. So she went to him and she told, I want some kind of grocery here. Please help me. He told, well, I can give you, but in exchange, I want something. I want you to sleep with me one night. She was beautiful. And he took undue advantage. She told, okay, that's fine. To serve devotees, I can do that. And then she came back, she took the foodstuff, she cooked, and she did everything. Ramanujacharya was happy. But then Ramanujacharya came to know that This was her, bet with that local grocer. And then Ramacharya told, no problem. You take this Prasadam. And when you go to him, give it to him first. In the night. When she went, she took that Prasadam and she met him in the night. And then she gave him Prasadam. She told, okay, fine. This is from my spiritual master. Please take it. And he took it. And suddenly his heart changed. And he told her that what happened to me? You're like my mother. I must respect you. You're a great devotee. Please excuse me. And so many things happened. So that's the point. This is a historical event. This is not a mythological event. You see? So by all these incidences, in Srimad Bhagavatam we have incidents of Narad Muni. You all know? Narad Muni, he was a small boy and 4 months he ate prasadam of big saints who were staying in his house. That's how his heart changed. So the question is not that prasadam changes lives of people. The question is not that prasadam has power. The question is, how does prasadam act? What's the science behind this? What is happening? As a scientist, let us explore this now. Now we have some observation and we need some explanation. And we see people change. We see our lives, it changed. There's going to be a very nice feast today. The Maha feast or what? It's a big feast today, special Thanksgiving feast. Yeah, it's like, I opened the surprise or what? Just now. Just now, yeah. So it's an integral part. Okay, so now let us understand, how does prasadam have so much power? What's science behind that? We can always say that prasadam, there's something transcendental power. We can always say there is special power beyond human capability to understand, human capacity to understand. Prasadam is transcendental. That's always there. But some things we can understand. Just like if you go to ocean. You can always say, what is ocean? A very vast body of water. You can't measure water of an ocean. But some things you can say about ocean. No? What you can say about ocean? At least we can say about ocean that
water is nothing.
That water is immeasurable. Immeasurable, you can say that. At least you can say this about ocean. Water, there's a lot of water in ocean, infinite quantity of water. You can talk about it to a certain extent, no? Salty. Some things we can understand about prasadam scientifically. Okay, so what's that? So to understand what is the power of prasadam, you need to understand 3 things. First, you have to understand the concept of food, which is very different from the concept which Americans or Western people have, or Western world have. Not just Americans, Western world and Eastern world. So food. And the next concept is the interaction between thoughts and matter. And then third point is prasadam. If you understand these 3 concepts, then we can understand the power of prasadam. Are you following, all of you? Food first. Second is interaction between thoughts and matter. And third is, we come to prasadam, the concept of prasadam. Okay, what about food? Let's start with food. So, modern science views food as proteins, carbohydrates. Is it? That's food all about. Vitamins, minerals, fibers. That's it. That's pretty much. So if you have a box of canned food, you will see proteins, carbohydrates, calories, and minerals, vitamins, whatever. It's a list. But Vedic view is very different from this. We don't view food as proteins, carbohydrates, calories. It's not like that. Vedic view of food is, according to Bhagavad Gita, it is gross, subtle, and subtlest. It's gross, subtle, and subtlest. Food has 3 parts. Gross, subtle, and subtlest. And it's common sense to understand. Now, gross part is what you can see. Understand what's gross? You understand what do you mean by gross?
Gross matter.
Tangible to the senses.
Okay, tangible. Okay, fine. Yeah.
The heaviest.
Heaviest?
Physical matter.
Earth.
Can you give a definition of what's gross?
Something you can see, touch.
Okay, yeah, something you can see, touch. Okay, yeah. Can you refine? That's a good thing. Good definition.
It's a plant that grows from photosynthesis, comes up from the ground, it's soft, comes in different forms.
Something you can see. You can see a mirage. But is that gross?
Like physical?
We don't know what's that. Yeah, physical. So what do you say? Gross we define everything as gross, which has space and time. Which occupies space and time. You understand? That's gross, is it? If this occupies space, this is occupying a space, and there's a time, it's present here. After some time, it disintegrates. Before some time, it was not there. This is gross, is it? So mirage, it's gross? We don't know. It's not gross thing. It doesn't occupy space and time, is it? You understand mirage? Mm-hmm. So these are gross things. So food has a gross part. It occupies space. So your bread has a gross part. Okay, you can touch, you can eat, you can chew. That's a gross part. And then in microscope you can see proteins and carbohydrates, molecules. That's also gross. It occupies space, no? Proteins, molecules, structures, it occupies space. It's gross. According to Vedic science, it's gross. So that's first part. That's explained in 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. If you look deeply and understand that's 5th and 16th chapter, in the verses you'll find it. Okay, second part of food is subtle part. Can you tell what's the subtle part of food? Subtle part is which does not occupy space and time, but it's there. Taste. Taste is subtle, no? Doesn't occupy space. Doesn't occupy time. Especially space. It's not a spatial object. But nevertheless, it is a reality. So taste is subtle part. Subtle. And the subtlest part, which science doesn't know, is thoughts. That's thoughts. Now you might say, what's this all about? Thoughts? Now can I explain this? So we can understand gross part, we can understand taste part, subtle part, but subtlest part, what about thoughts? That our science, modern science, is completely unaware of. But not just completely. Some scientists, they are doing research and they're coming to this conclusion. Yeah, this might be right, because science has always got its paradigm shift. You know paradigm shift? You're aware of paradigm shift? There have been changes in science. Big changes. Paradigm shift means big changes. From Newtonian mechanics to Einstein's relativity to Heisenberg's quantum physics. There's a big changes in science. These big changes in science are mostly brought about by the knowledge of Upanishads. Has anybody read the book Tao of Physics? Okay, you go to Google and get that book today. Read that book. It's a beautiful book, and it explains how physicists are always so much interested into Upanishads, Vedas, knowledge of Vedic knowledge. You have all concepts there. You don't have mathematical equations there, but you have concepts which you can develop by the language of maths. So, okay, fine. So, what does Veda say about thoughts? Now, there are thoughts in food. How do we understand this? It's simple to understand. It's not a big science. If you apply common sense, you can understand. If you apply science, you'll not be able to understand. You see, sometimes you need common sense, not science. Is it? So I was just having a seminar in Michigan University, Ann Arbor. That's right. I was giving a seminar. There were some scientists sitting there. So I told them, see, it's nice, science is great, but common sense is more greater than science. Sometimes you can explain something by common sense, which you can't explain by science. Is it? Simple. It's like beauty. Beauty you can explain by common sense. But science, you can't capture beauty, no. There's no apparatus in science which can capture beauty. Science can capture a pattern, but not beauty. You see, there's a difference now. So, what does modern science say? Now you see music. Everybody knows we were playing music. Now, if you think about music, what's music all about? You can play music and you can write music in some manner. There's a system of writing music. What's that called? Notes?
Notation.
Notations, yeah. So you have pitch, you have tempo, you have blah blah blah, and so you have notations like this. You write notations. So you feel music, you speak music, you play music, and you can transcribe your feelings and your thoughts into notations, into dead symbols. Is it dead symbols? You write it, no? And then you give that book to somebody else. He takes a book, he sees that notations, and he plays. And again, those feelings, you can experience. Is it? Like Mozart, we have all the compositions of Mozart. Even today, you can see those notations and you can play same feelings. So the point is, thoughts can be transformed into matter. You understanding? There's a system to transform your emotions and thoughts into matter, into dead symbols, which can again be decoded, and you can again get feelings and thoughts from that. Do you understand? Or for example, if you take information theory, Shannon's information theory, all your Wi-Fi and everything is based on that. Now what he said, 100 years back he said, you see, it's very simple. Whatever you think, whatever you speak, it can be transformed into electrical signals. Is it? And those electrical signals will come as waves, electromagnetic waves. Your cell phone will catch it, and it will again decode those electrical signals. You get the same voice, and you hear the voice, you hear the thoughts, and you hear the feelings, and you can feel. So thought is transforming into matter, and then matter again transforms into
electricity.
Thoughts. No, again, okay, fine, electricity, and then electricity again into thoughts. You feel it, no? You understand? It's possible. So just as thoughts can be transformed into matter, thoughts can also transform matter. That's another concept. You're getting my point? Thoughts can be transformed into matter. Thoughts can also transform matter. For example, there's a scientist, Emoto. You go to Google and get it. Marcus Emoto. And he's written a book, The Secret Life of Water. You know what it is? It's also famous.
I've heard of that.
I heard about that, so I'll show you here. I just got it here. So this, he took water and then he spoke something to water. Like he put some tape there, which was speaking, or he held water and then he had some emotions.
He wrote it on.
Yeah.
He wrote it also. Yeah, that's experiment. I love, or maybe I kill something.
Anger.
Yeah, all this. So here are the pictures. This is some water. You can see? Everybody can see here? This is water molecule. Just watch some water molecule. Stupid water molecule. It's a dead thing. It's a dead thing, yeah. There's nothing light here. But the point is, he freezed that molecule and he got this pattern. But this pattern is like, I hate you. It's chaos. It's a chaos, no?
Yeah.
But then, this is some pattern. This is like, I love you. And there's a pattern here, no? There's a flower. You see? It's a symmetrical pattern. So it is water molecule frozen, much below 0 degrees. And then you get some pattern here. Oh, this is a good pattern. Everybody can see this?
Yeah.
You can see?
And it's symmetrical.
It is like a diamond, like small diamond. It's a symmetrical thing. So this kind of patterns he got. This is beautiful. It's like looks like a golden ring. And this is like, I love you. So he has written a book. He has written a book where I'll just have to tell you now. Okay, he has written a book, The Secret Life of Water, and here's his paper, Effects of Distance in Tension on Water Crystal Formation, a Triple Blind Replication. This is the paper. And he has released many papers. It's a scientific study done with case control study. You understand case control? It's not just a by chance study. And he has got these these evidences which can show that thoughts can affect matter. It can transform matter. Not only thoughts can be transformed into matter, just as music, electrical signals, it can transform matter. And by the way, our body has 60% water, no? This entire planet has 60-70% water. It's mainly water. Rest, 60% water, 20-30% is empty. Just 1-2% is electrons, and yet we feel everything is solid. This is funny. Physics can't understand this mystery. This is a big mystery for physics now. There are many mysteries than solutions in science as we are going along, as we are advancing. So you understand. So thoughts can make patterns into matter, is it? So here comes the link between food and thoughts. And here you come to the third concept, Prasadam. Now, when you understand this, now you can understand that Prasadam is all about, the power of Prasadam depends all on the cook. One thing. Because the cook is thinking something, no? Thoughts. And thoughts is affecting matter, food. What is making? It is transforming the patterns in the molecules of that food. Food is mostly water. Is it? 70%, 80% is water. And then you, on the top of it, you also add water in that. You also are adding water. Yeah. So, power of Prasadam, first thing depends on the cook, if you understand this concept. When he cooks, his thoughts will alter the patterns in the food, in the molecules of the food. And those patterns will then have its own effect on person who eats. Okay? So, if he is making with the feelings of hatred, molecules will be something. Patterns will be chaotic. So when you eat that food, your mind will be
disturbed,
chaotic. What is born of poison is poison. Is it? Bad seed has bad tree. No? So bad mind has bad food, bad patterns. So it's chaotic. And then, but the devotee, he cooks food with love. Is it? Love for God. So the patterns are different for that food. Very different for that food. And then when you offer that food, this is only just part. So power of Prasadam depends on the cook. And power of Prasadam also depends when you offer that food to God. You offer it to God on the altar. Then God, He's thinking, no? He's a person according to Vedic knowledge. He also infuses his own thoughts in that food. His own thoughts. So cook infuses his thoughts of love of God. God infuses his thoughts of mercy. And the patterns are very different. Patterns in the food, in Prasadam, are of love and mercy as opposed to hate and violence. What these people cook. Whatever you get in the society, that's of exploitation. Hate, money, violence, is it? In India, this happened once. I was in Bangalore, I think 4 or 5 years back. Bangalore, in a particular area in Bangalore, India? There's a place, Bangalore in India. So there in particular colony, people were getting violent. There were more crimes in that place, someplace. So they were doing some research, there are more crimes here, less crimes in another part. What to do? So these people, they did some research and then they found that these people that area where there were more crimes, they were getting bread, and those breads were made by criminals in the jail.
Criminals?
Yeah, criminals, in the jail.
Oh, the bread was made by criminals.
Yeah, bread was made by criminals, and then it was sent to the outlet in that area, and they were eating and they were getting all violent thoughts. They're fighting with each other. And it happens to all of us. To me also once it happened. I went to Bombay one time. One devotee was there. We took some food there. This was a devotee, but we took. So then that devotee, he was getting some weird thoughts. So he asked the person, that family member, what happened? Who cooked that? They told, we cooked. So there's a problem. We're getting funny dreams. What's happening? We're getting violent balanced thoughts. So then later he told, he just told that, well, I'm sorry, my servant who is cooking, he actually just got released from jail, and he did murder. He murdered somebody, and he cooked. We're very sorry about that. So it happens, devotee can feel that. So you see, that's a science, that's the power of prasadam. So devotees, when they cook, their consciousness makes some patterns into that food. When it's offered to God, there are some patterns, again in that food of mercy. And then when you eat, it affects you. And it is scientifically shown. I mean to say, if you see quantum physics, what's quantum physics all about? It's all about consciousness affecting matter. We all know that, no? It's all about that. That's what is 50% of weirdness about quantum physics is that consciousness is affecting the results of the experiment, is it? So, and there are many speculations about that. But it is possible. It is possible. So, but the question is, how these patterns which are formed in the food, they affect you. So when a devotee makes food with love, there are patterns of love in that. When it's offered to God, there are patterns of mercy. When you eat that food, those patterns, your consciousness recognizes the patterns, no? And it decodes those patterns. Just like musician decodes the dead symbols of the musical notes. He plays that and you get same feelings. So our consciousness perceives those patterns and it decodes those patterns and you get feelings of love for God and mercy. Simple. Is it difficult? That's the first thing. If you might say this is not strictly so scientific. Well, there is some scientific explanation also. Because, you know what? Science was previously molecules. People used to think about molecules. What is life? Molecules. But then they came to information. Life is all about information in genes. But now science is shifting in 21st century to structure and patterns. Patterns affect everything around us. And there's a new theory coming, chaos theory, you go and read all these things. Anyway, I preach to scientists, so I'm talking in scientific terms. My specialization is science. So, patterns affect. You see, for example, are you aware of isotopes? You know what's isotope? You know, yeah? What's that? Yeah.
Isn't it like heavy? It's like a heavy molecule or something? Or it has ions attached to it?
Yeah, isotope is same molecules but different structure. You have same molecule. If you have isotope of carbon, it has same molecules but different structure. And different structure can bring out different effects. Same molecule, different structure, and it has different effect. You understand? That's isotope. There's a new branch coming up in life sciences, proteomics. You have proteins, same protein. Just you alter slight structure and the function changes. One protein can have millions of functions. One protein in a body. Just by slight change of structure. How many proteins are there in our body? Millions of proteins. Is it? The scientists are having a tough time to understand what's life all about. So science is coming to this realization. Different structures can bring about different effects. Different patterns can bring about different effects in a body. Different patterns in food, different hormones are released. You understanding?
Yes.
You might have same bread made of wheat from Walmart. And one bread you go to this Abha restaurant. Same bread, you give to scientists. What's the difference? Same protein, same carbohydrate, same calorie. But there's a difference. There's a difference of patterns there. When you take that, your body identifies those patterns, and according to those patterns, different hormones are released in the body. It is scientifically proven. Now, in life sciences,
there was a devotee last Sunday who spoke about food in this room. And he was saying there's something called the second mind.
Second mind, yeah.
Which is the gut. Meaning that the food you take, the science calls a second mind that affects your emotions, the hormones.
Perhaps at least according to Ayurveda, it's like that. Yeah, you're right. Right. Your intestines. Can I finish?
Yes.
You want to add something?
Just something along the same lines. The vibrations. I'm sure everybody's probably seen the suspended liquids.
Yes,
heavy
okay.
vibrations,
Yeah.
and they change shapes.
Yeah. Shape of sound, no? That they change. Yeah.
Depending on the sound vibration.
So science is coming to this conception of patterns and effect on the universe, effect on our body. So it affects the different hormones, different effect, different feelings. Simple. So that's how patterns affect us. You take food and you get affected. So that's the power of Prasadam. So we are not vegan. We are also not vegan. We are not vegetarian. We are not non-vegetarian. We are Krishnatarian, as what Prabhupada said. Because even if you have vegetarian food, even if you have non-vegetarian food, if you have feelings of hatred, anger, envy, exploitation, money, all this, greed, the patterns will be same. It's veg or non-veg, it doesn't matter. So what we're interested in is food being offered to God, and the cooks with their feelings of love for God, and then those patterns are good, and that will affect your consciousness. It will purify consciousness, means it will produce feelings of love for God and mercy, and that's how Prasadam works. Hare Krishna, thank you very much for listening to me. Any questions now? Yes, Guru.
I was in our restaurant years ago, and I was called to a table. I've told the story many times. People here have probably heard it, but anyway, one gentleman, I think I was like 35, he was in his 60s, he called me up, he was very serious, and he asked me if we put drugs in our food. Because when he ate it, he felt so intoxicated.
Already? Yeah.
And I said, no, actually it was...
So what did you reply?
It's all the same thing, cook with love, just like your mother cooks for you love, and the food comes out nice, so I said we cook with love.
Yeah, this is one thing, people can argue, that are you putting drugs into this, or many people say, even now in India. But there's an argument for that. So, I think I was in Denver, Fort Collins College. So they were all students, they were like PhD, biologists, chemists, and they were arguing, your Krishna consciousness, maybe you put drugs in, and maybe there's something chemically there, it produces euphoria, and all those things. But then I told him, see, there's a wrong thing here. The wrong thing is, drugs produces hallucinations, is it? Euphoria? And okay, fine. By Prasadam also you feel happy, love and mercy. But drugs also you might feel you have become a prophet, and you might feel like that. And there was a boy, he thought, yes, just 2 days back I took a lot of drugs. I just filled myself with drugs, and then I felt so much love for the divine. And I am a prophet. He felt like that. So how do you argue with such people? And there's an argument for that. You see, okay, fine, let me ask you, how do you argue with them? They might say like that. What do you do with that? You have to have some argument, no? What is your argument? Let me ask you. Do you understand the query? Understand the question, no?
It's like the back door. It's like going through the back door when you have access to the front door or something.
Okay.
It's like you're sneaking behind.
Okay, so what's the argument for that? Anti-argument for this logic. If somebody tells you, my God, you people are adding some chemicals, who knows?
Before you took the drugs, you didn't feel like that. And after they wear off, you won't feel like that. So it's just a chemical induction of some feeling.
Yeah.
With a permanent effect.
But I have an argument for that from his side. Devil's advocate. I have an argument that sometimes it happens to all of us also. No? We feel good, but sometimes we feel really messed up. They might say, well, be honest with yourself. You don't always feel happy. So that's with me also. He said, I take drugs. Most of the time I feel happy, but sometimes I don't. It's with you also same thing. Okay, fine. So he might argue, you leave eating prasadam, and then you see what happens. And again, you'll be like messed up. What's happening? So is there any scientific argument for that? People understand science?
The chemicals are the same. It's not a transformation of matter. It's like just a change, like a physical change. Like the chemicals from the drugs.
No. His argument is we are giving a theory of change of pattern of molecules, is it? Okay? He's saying, well, it's a theory, but behind the closed doors, you had some chemical. His argument is that. You are speaking theory, but in closed doors, you had some chemical which you have devised, probably you have got from Golok something, so nobody can analyze that. But you had, and then you're fooling people by this theory. Now, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Tell me. Have you understood the argument? Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, you have to say yes, because you're saying yes in a way that it feels that no.
We just understood it.
Okay, just understood. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So what's...
When you clarified it, we just got
Okay, so what's the
now we're
answer?
thinking about it.
Okay, fine. Now, what's the answer? It's a good argument. Many people argue with me like that. Especially...
They're arguing that behind closed doors we're putting something in the food.
Food.
Then they can come observe us cook and see that we're not doing that. What's the difference?
Yeah, they can do that, but then they can say, well, you are a good trickster.
Send the food to a laboratory and get it analyzed.
Well, so their argument is you have some chemical which cannot be analyzed by present science. It is advanced thing. They're all from Golok, some other planet. They have those stupid ideas. Everybody has some kind of ideas. No? So people like to say so many things. So you have to be ready for all those things. And they say, this boy, he said to me this thing. Same argument he said. You're adding, who knows, you have got from somewhere.
We could ask him to try the process himself in his own kitchen.
Process what?
Of the process of cooking with devotion. We could ask him to try this.
We can ask, but he's not a devotee, so it'll take time for him.
Okay, so he's still
devotion.
skeptical of that.
Yeah, we are skeptical now. We have to give some objective evidence, not a subjective, something which you can see.
He brings the food, I guess it wouldn't be cooked, but...
Yeah. Let's trick him.
I have a question.
Yes. No. My question is not answered now. First, my question needs to be answered.
Who's got the answer?
Okay. There's one answer to this question. And I told him, see, the point is, you take any hallucinogenic substance in any entire world, any drug, any chemical, put it in your food, you get euphoria, okay? And you take prasad, you also get happiness, but there's a difference. By taking these drugs and chemicals, you get happiness and euphoria. And by prasad also you get happiness and euphoria, but there's a lot of difference. One thing you do not get by those hallucinogenic substances, what's that?
Mercy.
Mercy? That's a very... that guy, he was a prophet who took drugs 2 days back. He was a prophet. One thing you don't get, Krishna says in Gita, that is self-control, sense control. Sense control you can never get. Is it? You ask any guy who's taking drugs or hallucinogenic substance, are they sense controlled? Do they get control on their greed, on their lust, on their desires? It's impossible. There is no process in the world which can stop these forces of nature within us. And prasadam does. So you can see the effect. Cause can be known by the effect, no? So there is something different going on. There is something different. And that, Gita says, there will be sense control. And this happened in Prabhupada's movement. Many hippies who came to Prabhupada's movement, they were eating prasadam. After 2 months, my God, they forgot about their drugs. They forgot about everything. I think Sridhar Maharaj, he was telling one of his, he just left his body. So he was telling his memories. He was saying, he used to take some drugs or something. Then he was he was taking prasadam, food distribution. And then one day he was just on bus was going. And on the bus it was written marijuana. And he saw marijuana and he said, my God, I just forgot to take Marijuana for two months. What happened to me? You just realize at that point of time. So that's the difference. There is nothing in this world which can stop you from sense gratification except prasadam. So that's 6th chapter, 3rd chapter, 4th, 5th, 7th, 8th. All spirituality is measured by sense control. Sense control. And the mechanism of sense control we are telling. It's just by mercy of God you can become sense control. There is no chemical. There can be no chemical like that. So that's how I told them. And in fact, there were scientists sitting there. They said, yeah, it makes sense. I told them, I told you, you don't need science to understand this thing. You need common sense to understand it. Yeah, it makes sense. So I told them, see, you're a big scientist and you forget your science now. You do this experiment. You're doing big experiments to understand life, okay? And you're doing big experiments to understand all these things. I'll give you a 6 months experiment. Do the experiment and you see the effects which are given in scriptures. Each and every effect will come. Each and every effect. 13th chapter, such a big list. Amanitvam, Adamvitvam, all these lists, every effect. So, there's a science. What's the problem in that? You have experiment, you have effects, you have evidence, you have people around you who are having these effects. What's the big thing? Simple. So they somehow accepted after this argument. So that's what is. Prabhupada always said, preaching means fighting. Fighting. You don't fight with people. But you fight with what? You fight with wrong ideas. There are some wrong ideas people have. So you try to make people understand that there are some things.
Tongue fu.
Huh? What's that?
Tongue fu.
What's that tongue fu?
You fight with your tongue.
It's like kung fu and tongue fu. It's a different thing. Yes, Prabhu, you had some question, yeah? Prabhu, you had some question?
Yeah, actually, we see many people, many devotees even say, take prasadam, they are chanting, they do everything. In the normal course of life, when they go to the public or anything, their behavior, when compared to the person, you call even villager, you say he is a meat-eating guy or anything, but the behavior which this gentleman is doing compared to the so-called devotees, having prasadam and things, may be totally different. So how we can justify? I mean, I am very much convinced we need to take prasadam and we have to do. Personally, it's okay. But when friends ask such questions, I need to give logically some explanation. How to convince this possible?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is, Prabhu is saying that we all eat prasadam, and I just told you the effect of prasadam is patterns of love and mercy. So when you eat prasadam, you're supposed to get love of God and mercy, no? But some devotees we find there's absolutely no love and no mercy, or maybe less love and less mercy, even though they are taking prasadam. Now that's a case now. And some people you find in the society who do not take prasadam, but they have mercy, and they are much more good-mannered than devotees. Sometimes you find that. That's a question?
Yes.
So how do you understand that dichotomy? You understand? So what's your answer? Can anybody answer that?
Well, I guess the well-mannered people, they have some type of higher power that they're looking up to. Maybe because the vibrations are raising. Reiki's pretty big. And anyone that I know that's like, they're into Reiki, they charge their food, they spend time with it, and they think, they think a higher power. They think everything, the whole entire universe. So whatever their concept of Krishna is, they may not have that word, but that's pretty much the love that they're getting out of it. That devotees would get. And
what about devotees? Why devotees are not getting it?
And I guess maybe devotees have lost their flame for Krishna. Maybe they don't engage in enough devotional service to have that sweetness to keep on going,
Okay, that can be one explanation. Devotees are not following the process properly. It doesn't work. It can be. Okay. Anything else?
Karma.
Karma?
There's a karma from their past life. They had already did so much pious stuff, so they're naturally pious by their past activities.
That can be one thing. Past life they were good people, so they're carrying good qualities with them. It can be one thing. Yeah.
I mean, people are just people, regardless, they're all needing mercy of God in some way. So just because, they're a spiritual devotee to some path doesn't necessarily make them at the end of their path. So within that, you can't really judge them on your scale, because first, you have no right to judge anyone. The only person who could judge is the higher power. And then you're just really there to show them love, versus because there's an absence of love within those people. So regardless of if they're a devotee or a non-devotee, if they're a good person or a bad person, they're still a person, which is lacking something. Hurt people because they're hurting. So if someone's hurting you, there's something still inside of them that's hurting, regardless of...
Okay. Sort of, yeah. Yes, Madhu.
Isn't it all that it's personal? Is that Krishna doesn't have to give us anything for offering with love or trying to. It's personal. We can't expect or demand to get some mercy or some qualities. It's all like an exchange of love. Isn't it?
Well, Prabhupada said that if you're advancing in devotion, automatically all good qualities manifest in the devotee many times. So there's a sign of advancement in devotion. You're supposed to develop good qualities. Otherwise, how do you know whether you're advancing or not? So how do you do? Sarve guna sutra samasate. So all good qualities of demigods manifest in a devotee. It should happen like that. Now okay, fine. All these answers are good, but there's one answer which Krishna gives. What?
Offenses.
That might be the case, offenses. But you know what? It's very difficult to do offenses. As far as my understanding goes, it's not easy to do offenses. Because, offenses are willfully done. Is it? Intentionally. Offenses are intentionally. And no devotee does anything intentionally. We don't plan. Things go out of misunderstanding. Most of the things happen out of misunderstanding. That person is good, this is good, they misunderstand, some things happen. Most of the times it's like that. Nobody sits and plans, I'll screw him up and I'll do this. It doesn't happen like that. At least with most of the devotees, some might happen. So, offenses, yeah. Unintentional offenses, Krishna excludes. No problem. They will be like kids. God. Is it? It's like that?
I'm just really hard on myself, I guess.
You're all good devotees. That's all. Yes, that's true.
You're going to say chapter 9, text 30? Yeah, that's one, yeah. So Krishna says in Gita, you see, people who don't have devotion, they might have good qualities, is it? Who are not eating prasad, and they might have some good qualities, mercy and other things. But the qualities in them and the qualities in devotees are very different. Now the point is, you might have a big jar of water and I might have a drop of water. But a jar of water is salty water and my drop of water is distilled water. What is more precious? A distilled water. If you're thirsty, what is more precious?
Distilled water.
The distilled one drop. That jar cannot help you. And even an ocean cannot help you. Water everywhere, not a single drop to drink. It was said. Ocean. Similarly, people who are not taking prasad, who are not connected to God, who are not following a process, they might have good qualities, but their good qualities are mundane. Their good qualities are like shadow of that real substance. But devotees, they might have less qualities, but that substance, that's not a shadow. That's substance. That is in the soul. And good qualities, what people have outside, their qualities are at the level of mind and body. That's what Bhagavatam says, Mano Rathena Asati Vahi. Their good qualities will change when the self-interest comes. It will change. It will definitely change when the self-interest comes. But for devotees, it's not like that. They might have less good qualities, but the good qualities are like substance. It will not change. They can sacrifice for Prabhupada's mission. They can sacrifice for Krishna. There's less of self-interest. So, Krishna explains in 9th chapter and 12th chapter, these are spiritual qualities. Those are material qualities. And there's a lot of difference in that. But externally we will not be able to make out. Shadow and substance, people can't make out. Shadow and substance look same. But there's a lot of difference here. Is it? That's a difference between spiritual and material qualities. Let's take Arjuna. Arjuna is fighting and he denies to fight. Why? Because he says, Krishna, I have compassion for these people. Prabhupada writes in the purport, this compassion is not due to weakness of heart. This compassion is spiritual compassion because he was a pure devotee. So compassion of a devotee, compassion of ordinary people, it's very different. Compassion of a devotee comes out of platform of soul and his connection with God. Compassion of ordinary people, it comes not out of connection with God or soul. It just comes because of their good activities of past lives connected on bodily platform. Just on bodily platform. And Prabhupada says, compassion for the coat of a drowning man doesn't help him. Prabhupada always said that. Yes, Prabhupada.
I was just,
Yeah, Mataji.
well, can a person outside also have bhakti? Because I heard
You
Prabhupada
can
say that he said there's a Brahman in every corner, we just have to find them. So could they be developing, and we just can't see it, but they're actually
Yeah, it can.
developing in bhakti?
Yeah, it can be. Last lives, it might be there. He just needs a spark. He just needs to connect here and develop his connection, bring back his good qualities. But as far as he's not connected, what other qualities are there that are mundane? That's not spiritual. Once you get connected, it comes back.
Okay.
Yes, bro.
Those who are approaching God with devotion, it's like they're in the shower. So they're doing something that gets to the core of all negative qualities. So they may be covered with dirt, but a person shouldn't go and say, oh, look how dirty this person is. Where the person who's not in the shower, he may be more clean, but he's not engaging in the process that goes to the core of cleaning all problems.
That's true, yeah. So, yeah, that's a difference, And that's what Krishna explains, mode of goodness and transcendental. In mode of goodness, you have all good qualities, but those qualities are for yourself. Your own happiness and your own satisfaction. See, there's a difference. A person might be compassionate to others, but if he's not connected to God, that compassion, ultimately, what he's seeking for in that compassion? His satisfaction, is it? Is it? Nobody will be compassionate to others if he finds absolute no satisfaction. So he's seeking satisfaction and peace in that. But for a devotee, when he's compassionate, he's not seeking his satisfaction and his peace. He's seeking whose satisfaction? Krishna's. And that's a difference. The goal is different. The goal of that good qualities are different. And goal matters. Matters everything. By goal you define the process. By process you don't define the goal. If from Dallas you have to go to Houston. If from Dallas you have to go somewhere. Now, do you decide should I go by plane, car or bicycle? First you have to decide where you have to go. The goal. If you have to go to Houston, then you go by car. If you have to go to New York, you have to go by flight. If you have to go from Kalachandji to this second block, you have to go by cycle or walk. So goal defines the process, not process defines the goal. The process is compassion, but this compassion is defined by the goal, for whom it is done. So they're all good qualities is for themselves. And the worst quality, the worst quality which can actually destroy all good qualities is selfishness. That's what all scripture says again and again. Just for oneself if you do. A person is very, very charitable, very everything, best person, but he's doing all for himself. People like him? You like that person? If you have a friend, he's giving you everything, take this, but he's selfish, he's doing for himself. Will you like him? You will not like him, even though he has all good qualities. But a person, he might be like stupid, nonsense, a street person, but he has this one good quality, selflessness. He helps others without thinking about himself. Will you like him? Is it? Everybody will like him. That's the difference. In devotees, they might have less qualities, but their good qualities are absolutely pure, devoid of selfishness. They do everything for Krishna. Outside they might have so many qualities, but it's all for themselves ultimately. So that's tainted, that's impure, and it's not appreciable in the eyes of God, as much as devotees' qualities. That's the difference. Transcendental mode of goodness. Is it? So devotees are like moon. Moon has so many spots. You see? So many spots, but still it shines. Devotee is like that. He might have so many bad qualities, no problem. There's one good quality which will overshine everything. That is, he wants to do everything for Krishna. That's why Prabhupada always said in his books, my devotees are pure devotees. See, he always said. So we were talking that one devotee asked Prabhupada, how many pure devotees are there in ISKCON? In the world. And Prabhupada said, how many devotees are there in ISKCON? Okay, this much pure devotees. So, how do you understand that answer? I mean to say, Prabhupada, when he started the movement, just 4, 5, 6, 7 years devotees. And they were pretty new. What are you going to imagine 6, 7 years devotion? You need time to mature. So, but still Prabhupada told pure devotee. Why? Because the goal was clear. The process might be immature, but goal was clear for Krishna and doing. So they were all pure devotees, pure qualities, good qualities, just for Krishna. Appreciable. That's why Bhaktivedanta used to say that a devotee who is brooming the floor of the temple, he is much, much, much more advanced, much more appreciable than a person who is doing charity, big charity in this world, because he is doing for God. If God is satisfied, everybody can become satisfied. If God is not satisfied, you can satisfy everybody, but they will not be satisfied. So that's what he used to say. And that's a difference there. Is it okay? Yes, what do you want to say?
A young mango on the tree.
Yeah.
It's very hard and sour.
Prabhupada gives that example.
But if you leave it there, it becomes soft and sweet. So the person who is connected, who's engaging in the process,
that's true.
They may be very hard and sour personality, but if they stick with it, guaranteed soft and sweet.
But you're right. Prabhupada is, and you know what? Interestingly, Shipram Bhakti Dharma. Interestingly, if you have with devotees, it's so nice. Even if devotee becomes angry, he will abuse you in some Krishna conscious way. You're Kamsa. You're Hiranyakashipu. Okay, go ahead. Remember pastimes of God. So they help. No, we are devotees, you always remember Krishna in bad way or good way, whatever. It's always good. If the devotee is bad, if there's some politics, it's good. No problem. At least connected to Krishna somehow. But if you're out, if you're not connected with Krishna, no matter all good things, but if there's no Krishna, what's the use? Without God, what's the use of your life? It's almost walking dead body. What's the use of a walking dead body? Does anybody appreciate that? It's a zombie? Anybody appreciate that? There are so many pictures of zombies. Nobody appreciates zombies. So if you get a zombie, mostly zombies are very terrible, like killers. But if you have a zombie, very good zombie, all good qualities. I can't even imagine. So it's like that. They don't have a divine spark in the soul. There's no divine spark. Without that divinity in that soul, they're not living. They're dead according to scriptures. It's not human. Human means to be connected with divine and God. Is it? That's where human life begins. Otherwise, there's no sublimity in your life. There's such gross things happening. So, we need people. We don't need good zombies. That's the difference there. Okay, so thank you very much for hearing everything and inviting me to speak. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you to Nityanand, is it? Nityanand Prabhu. Thank you for inviting me for this program. I didn't expect you just came and invited me, so I'm listening patiently. So I just need to tell you one thing, just quickly. This one book I have written. I was talking about science. Science fails to explain life. So this is how science has no definition of life as for yet. There are 149 definitions of life, and yet science says we can't define life. You have some list of theories of origin of life, and yet Fred Hoyle, he's an astronomer, he's a scientist, he says all these theories I can just explain in one statement. It's all waste of time. He says this. So I've quoted many scientists here, which can help you understand how the story of life, how science convinced us that life is coming from matter, we are machines, we react, we don't act, it's all reflexive mechanism, it's all mechanistic, physicalistic, structural phenomena happening in our body. There's no consciousness, there's no soul. But in this book I'm showing how science is turning now, 21st century. I was talking about patterns. There are many things coming in science which can indicate, if you're open-minded, it can lead you to the concept of consciousness and soul, and what is a Vedic view of life, about genetics, what Vedas talk about genetics. In fact, in this book I'm quoting many scientists that there's nothing called as genes, first of all. You heard about genes? Not just genes. There's a genes inside this GM. So many people are talking about genes, but the concept of genes is going out of the window now, because I do research in genetics. Things are changing very fast, and all these things I'm showing in this book. So if you want this book, you're most welcome. You can take this, and I can thank you for everything. Hare.